everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and I talk a lot about Salesforce. Today we're going to be doing a long requested video, which is a user training part 2. I will try and link the part 1 down below, so then you can go check that out. This is meant for users of Salesforce to understand and grasp certain aspects that might not be super well explained to you when you jump into your org. A few disclaimers I want to get out of the way is that your org is going to look probably completely different to what my org is, but there are a lot of similarities that you can do and different concepts that you can understand across orgs using Salesforce. And that's kind of what I want to hit on today. I also have a user training course if you are interested in purchasing that. I'll leave a link to that down below, as well as I would love to do a part 3. Part 1 was super well received. And so if you have any suggestions or ideas that you want to see covered in part 3, I would love to do that. So a few things that we're going to cover today are going to be cases, chatter, creating a follow-up task, using picklists, using marketing tools, sending an email from Salesforce, advanced reporting, dashboarding, using the data import wizard, and then a little bit on how to ask an admin or your admin team for functionality. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And we're going to start off with cases. So currently I am on the Sales Console. This is going to be probably a lot different than what you'll see when you log in. Let's take a minute to talk about consoles. So consoles, or I guess different apps within Salesforce, dictate what things you see when you are on them. So currently I'm on the sales, and so we have quarterly performance, we have today's events, tasks, assistant, and then we have a lot of different salesy types things up here in the navigation bar, like opportunities, leads, tasks, files, accounts, contacts, etc. So now if we were to go over here to the 3x3 and change the app that we're in to go to service, then it should look a little different. Again, we have the similar homepage. This probably won't look very similar to you if you were to switch between those two. But here now up on the navigation bar, we have chatter, accounts, contacts, cases, reports, dashboards, knowledge, and new features. So let's go ahead and jump into cases. Also, if you are looking for a specific object or group of data, like cases or like leads, you can come over here to the 3x3 and then search in leads. And then you'll be able to find it, click on it, and it'll take you around to the right place where you're trying to go. So let's go ahead and jump into cases and we'll talk about it a little bit. So here we are on a list view. So list views show us just a quick view of different cases that we have or whatever object you're on. So if you're on opportunities, it'll show you a list view of opportunities. Currently, it's showing us our recently viewed opportunities. So these are the ones I've viewed, and that one's pinned. So what that means is every time you go to a case, you're going to see this one first. So if I wanted to change it to a different view, like all open cases, I could do that. If that's what I wanted to see every time I logged in and went to cases, I would just click that little pin button right there and we'd be able to see it. Other things that you can do here is you can create a new case. You can change a case owner. You view a printable view. You can create a visualization here. You can refresh it. You can add filters. You can create a new list view if you aren't seeing the correct list view that you want to. I believe that's covered in the first user training. So let's just gloss over it here. I am going to click new to create a new case. So cases are typically used for a few different purposes. They can be used for external customers who have a complaint, who need to have their problems fixed. They can be used for internal users who are having an issue and need their issue fixed. They can be used as a way to understand different backlogs, for creating new functionality within Salesforce, and they can be used for all of these at the same time. But let's just go ahead and pretend that this is going to be an external customer who sent in a case either through a web form or through email, and we can go ahead and set this. So I am going to search for a contact name. You can search whatever name. I'm just going to choose Andy Young. And I want to make sure that I get the right account. It's really important that you connect the account and the contacts. So what this does is in the back end of Salesforce, it creates a link between all the different cases and opportunities and contacts. And once we have saved this, we'll be able to use the account name to link it to the account. So if we click on that, we'd be able to go to the account as well as for the contact. And then this case will show up underneath Andy Young's account or contact, account for Dickinson PLC, and possibly opportunities. So then you'd be able to switch back and forth between them without having to search for them. I can show you the links later, but that makes your life a lot easier when you're searching for information that you might not find. Let's go ahead and set this as case origin, as web. Anything you see that has a red asterisk next to it is going to be required for you to save. And that is across Salesforce. I'm going to select a type as, let's say, electronic, and equipment complexity. Right. Equipment complexity issues, setting up the equipment. It's going to be the subject. I'm not going to add any description. No contact made yet. I'm going to have this be for 12-11. That's the date today. That just makes it easier for internal comments to know and understand what has been done so that it's not being sent to your customer. So now other options that we can do here is we can save new, we can cancel. We can also send a notification email to the contact. So that would be really awesome for phone purposes. Maybe this is not an automated process. And so you get a phone call and that person is saying, hey, I'd like to open a case. Be sure to send that email notification to the contact so then they can check back up on it and they have a case number. So then they can check back up and anyone who is dealing with that case can go and look back at it and understand where they are in the case process. So that's really awesome to use. Let's go ahead and double check that everything is good. And I'm going to hit save. Now this should take us all the way to that case here. And as we can see, we do have the details of the case. Now this might be a little bit different from what you see because usually the case is over here or the details are on this side. It's just depending on your org. You can see the different updates that we have for this case. So currently I have sent an email to Andy Young saying this is the case number for this issue and it sends the subject. Now how Salesforce knows is when you link that contact, it will understand how to pull the email and send that email directly to the email you have on file for Andy Young. And you can see here, it has pulled that over and it's ayoung@dickinson.com. All right, and as you can see, we have other ones. We have case created and a comment here that says, or internal comments that says no contact made yet. If we wanted to do that, we could change that. We could come over here and click next to the pencil button to edit those comments and say first contact made and routing to expert. We can go ahead and save there and that's going to change it there. We can also see any call logs. So any log calls that have been logged within Salesforce to the customer. You can also add a text post. Now, if you wanted to route it, and oftentimes within a service department, I was tech service for a while, we would have an internal team route the tickets to the expert to deal with the issue. So now if we wanted to change the owner, we could come over here and we could search for the user and send it off to them. One thing that is super helpful is to send a notification email, so be sure to check that. So then the new case owner knows that they are now the owner and they're not left high and dry when a couple days passes and the case is escalated. So I'm going to click cancel. You can also change the owner up here. Other options that we can do is we can clone this case if you need to create another case that's very similar. You can also share it and view the case hierarchy and a printable view. But that is essentially cases. Oh, if you wanted to go to the contact, here's where the link is that we talked about previously. You can go to the contact to see like their phone number, their email, who owns the contact. If you wanted to go to the case, you'd click the case number. It would take you right there. Other things that will do that are anything in blue, of course, is a link. So if you want to go to the account, you can go there. And you can even within this little mini view, you can go to an opportunity that's related. All right, so that's about it for cases. Now let's talk about chatter. So chatter is sometimes used within Salesforce. It really just depends on your company. Sometimes you'll want to use Slack or Teams for this purpose anyways. But if you are using chatter, you can comment, you can add a post to different records. So if you wanted to say, let's say we are routing this to expert we would be able to do that. Let me use the correct words. We'd be able to do that and share and post this. So that was to the internal team. And then if you wanted to ask a poll, maybe you had multiple people working on this case, you could say, what service option should we go with here? We could just do option 1 and option 2. All right, and then ask, and then we would have that poll created. So then anyone working on this would be able to go in and vote, and we'd be able to understand a lot more information. All right, and then this also works on accounts. It works on pretty much any object. So if we wanted to go to, let's go to opportunities here. And go on to an opportunity. Here, it will likely be under activity. Just kidding. Nope, it won't be. So we'll want to go over to the chatter box, and it'll show some of the recent history of this opportunity. So I created it a couple days ago. I'm going to ask a question. So my question is going to be, how much discount can I give them? And let's see, we can do details. So if you want to add any more details here, you would be able to do that. We can do bold, italics, underline, strike through. We can add bullets, a list, any pictures here. We can add people and add emojis. All right. So I'm going to ask, and then people would be able to go in and answer that. I am going to go to chatter here, the little chatter tab. If you can't find it, you can go ahead and search for chatter up here, and it should take you to the same place. But now you should be able to see a list of most of the chatter things that have been happening within your company to the posts that you're related to. You can also see the to me. So any ats will be here, any drafts, bookmarks, follows. But you would be able to do the same thing, post, poll, ask questions. You can join any public groups. So sometimes you'll have public groups for maybe a team of cases that you'll be on and assigned to, or a team of opportunities that you'll be assigned to. And so you'll be able to ask questions. Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and hop back into opportunities, and we'll talk about creating a follow-up task. So this is one of the sales tips and tricks that I have found in working with a lot of sales teams. So what we can do is, I'm going to go into an opportunity. So let's say that we were on a call, or we were reaching out to this customer while we're trying to close the deal. So I'm going to say that this was a call. It was done today. And then it was with Josh Davis at Express Portable Truck Generators. It's assigned to me, and it was completed. I'm going to hit save here. So that was today. Now, while you are kind of recapping this, or right after you get off the phone call and you've logged that call, what you should do as a salesperson, or what is really helpful as a salesperson, as long as this deal or this opportunity isn't tanked, is to create a follow-up task or a follow-up phone call to reach out to them. This is super helpful because, one, it'll notify you within Salesforce that, hey, you have a task that is due in a couple of days that you should reach back out. And two, it helps keep you accountable and helps you remember and follow up with your clients. So I'm going to create another one. Let's say other, and let's have it be for before Friday. Let's go ahead and reach out to that customer. I'm going to have this be for Josh Davis again. Assigned to me, and it is not started yet. So now it will remind me that you have an upcoming task that is going to be due in the next few days. Whenever I log into Salesforce, it'll let me know. And then if you wanted to go ahead and choose a status, what you could do is you can click over there and you can say, in progress, waiting on someone else, deferred. I'm going to say in progress. And then we can come over here to the caret, change status. Or you can also create another follow-up task by clicking down here and create follow-up task or follow-up event. All right. And that is just going to really help you as a salesperson. Once you have finished a call, create a follow-up task within Salesforce so then you can keep yourself accountable. And anyone who is coming in like a manager to look at your records can go ahead and see that you have something that you are working on with this opportunity, that you have been working on them in the past, that you're not just twiddling your thumbs. So that is creating a follow-up task. This also works on leads. It works on most objects that you would work on as a salesperson or as a case person. All right, let's talk about pick lists. So there are a few different types of pick lists. Let me go to the details tab over here. Okay, so there are a few different types of pick lists. There's a single select pick list and a multi-select pick list. Pick lists are really important for a few different reasons. They help standardize different options that we have within Salesforce, and they also help us with reporting. They are extremely important when it comes to reporting, or at least single select pick lists are. Multi-select pick lists are not so much important as single select. So, and we'll go into reporting in a little bit, and I'll show you why that is so important. We have this opportunity down here that is, or this field down here that is markets. And this helps us to break up any opportunities into what sector they are in. So I'm going to say that this one is in the Chicago market and hit save. So that's essentially how you use a pick list field. And again, we'll go into this in detail a little bit more when we go into reporting, but that is just a quick overview. Now, if this was a multi-select pick list, then we would choose one or two, just depending on the scenario. You can have more pick list options given to you, but you'd have to go in and ask your admin to change that. And then you might have to go through some levels of leadership, just depending on what they use that pick list for. If it's for some really important reporting, if it's something that we need to add to every single opportunity. Let's say we had the markets that we split up the Chicago market, and maybe we had a Minnesota market as well as Chicago. I know it's a city and a state, but we would have to go through and update all the Chicago markets and decide if it's going to be in the Minnesota market or if it's in the Chicago market, and then backdate all of those so then they can get the proper teams working on them. All right, let's go ahead and jump into marketing a little bit. So Salesforce isn't great at marketing out of the box because they have their own marketing cloud that is an upgrade. So this is just going to be out of the box marketing features. So really we only have campaigns, and what campaigns are is it's a way to track your ROI and also send out emails within Salesforce. You can use the marketing cloud or you can use Pardot as an add-on to Salesforce, but let's go ahead and see if we have any campaigns. So we have a couple of campaigns here. This is a way to track any of our marketing endeavors and see if they are worth it or if they are not. And that's just my personal view, and I'll show you why I believe that in just a second. So what you can do is you can have a campaign. So this could be a conference. This could be an ad slot. This could be Google Ads. This could be anything that you're doing as a company to bring in a lot of different leads to your business. And this is not just like a single lead. It's going to be on a bigger scale than that. So let's go ahead and create a new new campaign here. I'm going to have this be Google Ad campaign. And again, anything that has the red asterisk next to it is going to be required. I'm going to say this is active and say that this is advertisement. In progress. Let's say it's going to run from December 1st to the 31st. We can say expected revenue from campaign is going to be 100,000. And I didn't enter in the $sign. You don't need to because this is a currency field. It's going to automatically add that. I'm going to say that we have a $10,000 estimated cost. And then we'll go in and we can update all the actual cost, expected response, number set in the campaign. I'm going to hit save. And we have created our first campaign. So what we can do is we can go to details, and I'll show you why this is more of tracking. We have expected revenue, we have budgeted cost, actual cost, and all these different things that are going to update once we enter in another piece of data. So things like leads in campaign, converted leads, contacts, responses, these are all going to be updated automatically when we have that data. And then things like expected response is something that we will enter in that will help us. So what we can do from here is we can go to related. We can see the campaign hierarchy, attachments, opportunities, and campaign members. Maybe instead of a Google ad campaign, we had an email list that we were going to be sending out to some customers, some leads, some contacts. So let's go ahead and add a few leads here. I am going to add, let's say, Betty, Sandra, Eugenia, and Bill. Hit next. And I am going to have this be sent and submit. All right, and then let's go ahead and add a few contacts here as well. Andy Young and Stella. And the same settings. Now, this is only going to work for a few different types of campaigns. You might not always have campaign members, because if you're, let's say you're doing Google ad campaign, then you won't be able to track who that person is. You'll just get maybe you will get a lead on the back end when you have someone who is going from that Google ad campaign and giving you their information. But if we go to details here and we update it, then we can see that we have 4 leads and we have 2 contacts. Now, if we wanted to update this as the actual cost, maybe we spent, let's say, $9,050 instead of $10,000. And go ahead and save, then we'd be able to update that there. As you get more responses and maybe leads that are converting that were from this campaign, that were campaign members, and then you convert them as the lead into an opportunity, then this information will also update. So it's not necessarily a way to plan your marketing endeavors or to execute them, but rather it's a way to understand what the ROI is for your campaigns and your marketing endeavors. One thing though that I do want to mention here is that we can send out mass emails. So let's say if you wanted to add a holiday email ad campaign as your campaign, then you'd be able to do that, add your leads and contacts that you wish to have it there. And then we can from here send email lists. We would be able to enter in the subject of happy holidays. I'm going to say happy holidays here. And send. So that would go ahead and send off to those campaign members. Also, I just want to note, this is in a practice org, and so all the emails are going to my inbox and not to these customers' inboxes. Just a quick FYI. That is one way to send the email list. The next thing we're actually going to talk about is how to send emails from Salesforce, and it is pretty easy. This is just how to send a mass email, but let's say we wanted to go on to leads and send an email to a lead. What we can do, I'll go to a lead. I'm going to select Eugenia. We can click email over here underneath activity, enter in a subject of hope you're doing well. You can also send out like a happy birthday email to your leads just to keep in contact with them and then understand that, hey, we're thinking about you on your birthday. And it's really important to add the account. I'm going to add her as Burlington Textiles because I can't find her account, but I am going to hit send. And I know that this is not going to send because I am in a practice org, but typically when you are in your regular org, this will send. One thing that you might run into as an issue is that sometimes your emails will go into a spam box because they are sent from Salesforce. And it shows that in the URL of where the email came from. A few things that you can do is you can ask your admin to look into ways to changing that to having it be from your company rather than from Salesforce because you sent it within Salesforce. And your admin should be able to come up with a few ways to change that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into reporting, and we can talk about why pick lists are so important. So let's go into reports here. I am a huge fan of reports. I think they're really awesome, and I think that all users should be able to create a basic report, so then you're not relying so much on your admin. An admin could spend thousands and thousands of hours creating reports for everyone. So if you know how to create your own reports, it'll make everybody happy. So let's go ahead and jump into a new report here. All right, and I want to use opportunities as my example. This is going to be a report type. So report types are just the groups of data that you are going to be using to start your report out with. So you could use cases, as you can see here. You can use accounts, contacts, you can use opportunities, you can use leads, campaigns, activities, all those different things. You can also cross them. So you can use, let's go to accounts and contacts. You can do accounts with contacts here. You can use accounts with partners, accounts with account teams, accounts with contact roles. And this will bring in information from both groups of data. So both, if it's accounts with partners, both accounts and partners. So then you can show the information from both those different objects, both those different groups of data on the same report without having to create multiple reports and then draw invisible lines between the groups of data. Let's go ahead and go back to recently used. I'm going to select opportunities again. So this is just going to show me opportunities and a few related objects. So I'm going to start report. All right, and it's not going to show me any data because I need to update the filters. But one thing I want to do before I do that is show you this update preview automatically. This is super duper important because without it, you would have to save and run the report every time you made a change to be able to see that change. And that is not fun. I don't like that. So go ahead and update preview automatically so then you can see what you're doing. And then filters are a way to narrow down or open up your data based upon certain criteria. So currently I have no records, so I need to update the filters to be more open so then I can see the data that I'm working with. And I'm going to change this to all time so then it'll show as much data as it can. Actually right now, all of my filters are all, any, all. So that means the data is as open as can be. All right, and now we have a lot of different pieces of data here, and we don't need to see all of that. We can delete the data, or I guess remove the data. We're not necessarily deleting it. We're removing it from our report in a few different ways. What we can do here is we can remove column. You just clicked on the down arrow and then remove column. There we go. And if I didn't want to see the account name because it's mostly already in the opportunity name. So I'm going to click the remove here. All right, and then we'll be able to see some more clean data. I'm just going to go through and get rid of a few more that I want to get rid of. All right, and this should be a good amount. Actually, I'm going to add the market field that we did add a little earlier to some of our opportunities. All right, and this is where the pick lists really come in handy, especially those single select pick lists when it comes to reporting. One disclaimer I do want to add before going into more detail. Any information that you add into Salesforce can be used to create reports and understand a little more in depth about what we're doing on a massive scale. So if we wanted to see how much we were bringing in for the pipeline in previous years, we'd be able to see that. Now, if that information wasn't in Salesforce, we would not be able to see that. So any and all information that you can bring into Salesforce, the better. So bring in as much information as you can so then you can draw conclusions faster. I know it can be a big headache to enter in all the information or add all of the different fields that you have, but it really will help us in the end understand and draw conclusions from our data to see where our company can go next. As you can see here, we have lead source and some of them aren't filled out. But what we can do is we can take this data. Maybe we have a lead source that we haven't entered into Salesforce, so then we can understand maybe that. I'm not seeing too many social media references, so maybe all the rest of these opportunities came from social media. We'd be able to add that, and then we could draw conclusions based upon that data. So let's go ahead and actually group this now. If we wanted to, let's group by lead source since we're talking about them. We can go ahead and do that. So now we can see we have 5 that have no lead source. We have 1 web lead source. We have 1 phone, word of mouth, employee referral, external referral, and partner. So what we can do with this information is now we can go and work more on these opportunities that are coming from these types of lead sources. What we can also do, I'm going to remove this one. We can also look at the markets one that we did earlier. There's not going to be many because we haven't parsed out that information too much yet. So as you can see, they have the 20. And I know that we did do one, but this is only showing a limited number of records. So once we complete this report, we'd be able to see all of those. All right, let's go ahead and group by, let's do stage. That one is a good one. So I'm going to select stage. And now we can see what are in different stages. Other things that we can do here on the report is that we can summarize, or we can have a few different options. We have summarize, average, min, max, median, which one of those is a new option. I believe it's median. We can summarize the amount. So if we wanted to show how much was in each stage within Salesforce, we would be able to do that. So as you can see, we have closed one over here, and it calculates how much is in closed one. We can do subtotals for negotiation in each stage. So I am going to name this as practice opportunity report. And hit run. All right, so now we can see the full amount, or typically the full amount of what we have in our opportunities. If you have more than a couple thousand, then you would have to do this type of reporting outside of Salesforce. But if you're just doing this for your own records, then you should be able to see all of your opportunities, all of your leads, whatever you're doing this on. One thing about reporting is that you will get better at it with time. So just work on doing your reports and practice doing these reports, and you will get a lot more comfortable with it. Typically, you cannot mess up any data if you're just working on your own private report here. Most of the changes that you would make to data happen on the specific records. So if we were to go into this period emergency generators opportunity, then that's what you would see. All right, I'm going to add a chart. So this is going to be what we'll cover next as well within the dashboarding section. But here you can see, because we have a grouping, Salesforce is taking that grouping and helping us visualize it by that grouping. So it took the stage and the amounts from each stage and is showing us that in each type of section. So as you can see, we've got prospecting here in $100,000. Qualification is less. Needs analysis is 600,075, and so on and so forth. You can change what chart you see here into maybe a column, be able to see that way. Personally, for this type, I like the donut chart or the funnel. Let's change it to a donut chart. Now you can see how much in total, and then it broken by stage. And then funnel is also really good for this. All right. There you go. So now you can see the different pieces visualized. This is kind of like a mini dashboard, but dashboards can take in multiple reports and can show us a lot of different data across the Salesforce org. So let's go ahead, now that we have this report done, let's go ahead and jump into dashboards and create a new dashboard. One thing about Salesforce is that we have folders. So it's asking me to create a name and then do the folder. So currently it's in the private dashboards folder, which is going to be only dashboards that I can see. And if you were to create a dashboard, that would be very similar to this, and put it in your private dashboards, then only you would be able to see this, unless someone was looking over your shoulder, or you're creating a user training document and you're screen recording it like I am. But you should be able to see this. So this should be able to help you play around with the data within Salesforce without actually changing any data. I'm going to have this be dashboards example, and anything with the red asterisk is going to be required. I'm going to click create. All right, and this is going to be our dashboarding canvas. From here, I'm going to go to component, and I'm going to select opportunity example. So one thing about dashboarding and creating different components is that you have to have at least one grouping to be able to use any type of component or visualization other than a table. So I'll show you what a table looks like. It is just a list of your data. You'd be able to use this for anything, including if it did not have a grouping. But if you want to visualize it more, you will need to have a group. I am going to a gauge metric. Now, these are different ways to visualize your data and different things that you can do. So now it's really going to depend on your situation and what you want to visualize for what component type you're going to choose. So if you wanted to see how many cases were open at a given time or currently, or how many were open over the last 20 to 30 days, then you would probably want to use a metric chart. So then you'd be able to see the total number. You can also change some ranges over here to have it display a different color. You can change the different colors here to be like red or blue, just depending on the different range. So let's say if it was over 5 open cases, then you'd want it to be red. If it was under 2, then you want it to be green. Anything between 2 and 5 would be yellow. Then you could change that to be like that. Other things that we can do, of course, I showed you the donut chart. It kind of breaks it down. We've got funnel. You've got gauge. We have a scatter plot. We have a line graph. Now, this would be really awesome for showing opportunities over time and seeing by each month and a year how well our sales team has been doing. We will be able to add that there. So I'm going to go back to this opportunities horizontal bar chart and click add. What we could do here is we can expand this if we want it to be a little bit bigger, or we can collapse it if we want it to show a little shorter. We can move this around to the different places within our dashboard. Now I'm going to add another component. I'm going to do cases, and I'm going to show you how to. So we're going to have this be the metric chart. This is showing the average age of our cases, which are not looking good. But if we just wanted to show the average age, we could go ahead and do that there and add. Of course, this is going to be drawing upon the source report. And so any information that the source report is going to give us is going to dictate what we see on the opportunities report. Now, this also depends on what kind of data you can see as your person. Salesforce can be really open and you can see a lot of data, or it can be really closed depending on your company's security settings, and you can only see your information. It really just depends on a lot of different factors, but feel free to come in and try and mess around with the different dashboards. You can't really change too much data here, especially if you're working on your own private dashboard. So I'm going to click save, right, and done. And that's just kind of a quick overview. If you wanted to go see the source report, there is a link as soon as you save and run it, or save and done it, and you would be able to see the source report for cases, and then you'd be able to go into anything with a link will take you to that case owner, that case, that opportunity or count. So that's a quick overview of reports and dashboarding. One last thing I do want to show you is how to import data using the data import wizard. I find this to be super useful. So let's say you had, I'm going to go over to this tab. Let's say you had a list of leads that you've been keeping track of in an Excel spreadsheet. What you would be able to do here is you would be able to take this Excel spreadsheet and upload these names into Salesforce. Now, you might not have the data import wizard for use for yourself, but this is just a quick overview how to do it. You might be able to ask your admin to do this for you as well. So I am going to... Let's see, I'm going to download it as a CSV. That's really important to have it as that type of file because that's what Salesforce takes it from, the same type. So I'm going to go over here to the cog and go to setup. All right, and from setup, I'm going to search for import wizard. It's going to be data import wizard. Double click on it. And it can import for a few different types of objects, not all objects. I'm going to launch wizard and we can go into it a little bit. Okay, so it can do some standard objects, which are things that are going to be out of the box within Salesforce. So things like accounts and contacts, leads, solutions, and campaign members. Those are the ones that you can do that are standard. There are a few custom objects that I have. So I've got a projects custom object and I can go ahead and upload through that. You cannot upload opportunities through this way or any other standard objects that are not listed here. You'd have to use another tool for that. And I believe that the limit here is going to be around 50,000 records, which as a user, you shouldn't necessarily need to upload that many unless you got a purchased lead list. Because this is leads, I'm going to select leads. We have a few different options of what we want to do. We can add new records, we can update existing records, and we can add and update at the same time. I'm going to click this last option because it covers everything in case I already have some of these leads in here. So we can choose how to match it by. We can do it by ID, name, email. We can assign leads to a certain lead source. So I'm going to say purchased list because that's often how these lead lists come in from. And then assign leads, I'm not going to assign them via assignment role. Assignment roles kind of route this to a certain person based upon a set of criteria. So let's say we had it set up where Salesforce had to route to person A if they came from web because person A was really good from the web. Or if they came in from a certain set of criteria. If they're a warm lead or a hot lead, then they would go to this person. All right, I'm going to leave all those the same. I'm going to select a CSV and hopefully this should drag over. All right, then let's go ahead and click next. And then we'll need to map the different fields that we have within Salesforce. So you'll want to have your sheet open to see. So currently I've got a name field, a phone field, and a company field. So these are some of the data pieces that I have in there. I have a name, I have a phone number, and I have the company. So if I wanted to go back, it looks like the column 1 is not mapped or it's unavailable to be mapped. If we go back over here, the first column is just empty. So that's fine. I am going to hit next. All right, and it's going to show that we have 3 different mapped fields and 1 unmapped. Great. Just validating it, starting import. And because it was so little and only had 3 records, then we are good to go. So now, all right, so now that is done, that's essentially how you use the data import wizard. You do want to go back and check. So these were leads. And let's see if we can change this. Let's see today's leads. Yep. So we can see that we have eCall, JAll, and JCall as new leads that we had just imported. Let's make sure that we have all of those in our spreadsheet. We have eCall, JCall, JAll. And those are imported. We can go in and check the data, but I'm pretty confident that those were all added. And that is how we update using or upload doing the data import wizard. Now, if they had found these same leads that were in there within Salesforce, because we chose the update and upload option, it would just update these leads if it matched a certain criteria. So we chose the name. So if any of these names matched the names that we had within our Salesforce org, then it would have said, hey, do you want to map these? Other ways that you can do it is through the Salesforce ID. So every record, every person has an ID within Salesforce. So let's say eCall had the same ID on our lead spreadsheet that a lead within our Salesforce org had. It would go ahead and map that and match it to that. This could be really great if you wanted to mass update a lot of leads based upon a certain set of criteria. So let's say a company ABC got acquired by company Z. What we could do is we could get that data out of Salesforce via a report. We could bring it into our spreadsheet. We could update the company from ABC to Z, so then we had the correct company data. And then what we'd be able to do, if we had that ID as well, we'd be able to upload it and update all of that information. So that's just a quick explanation of how to do that. And I think that brings us to our last point of how to ask an admin for functionality. So this is going to be different for every single person within Salesforce or every single Salesforce org and how many people you have working on your Salesforce org. There are some companies that only have one admin and they're the only admin that are working within it. And some companies have hundreds of admins, depending on how big the org is or if you're a consultancy. I would start by working with the admin that you are comfortable with or going to sales operations if you have that within your company. If you have one admin, it's going to be pretty clear who you need to ask and say, hey, I would really love to have this functionality because it would really help me in this way. Is that a possibility that we can add within Salesforce? Or who can I talk to get this functionality within Salesforce? And that's how to talk to a single admin. Now, if you were going to sales ops, it would pretty much be the same conversation of, hey, I would really like this functionality. This is how it would really help me within my Salesforce org. And this is how much time it would save me every day and a ton of my colleagues every day. How can we make this happen within Salesforce? Who do I need to talk to? And then oftentimes they'd run a viability report, or they would do a viability analysis to see if this is actually viable. If depending on how big the functionality that you're asking for is, it might need to go through a few different stages. So I'll give you an example. So when I was a solo admin at a company, we needed a renewal opportunity. And that was something that was very clear from the start that multiple users had asked for. We ran a viability report or viability analysis. It was pretty viable. It was a pretty new org, so there wasn't much to work around within creating that renewal opportunity. So as soon as one opportunity closes, the next year's opportunity opened. And then we just needed to decide with the users and the senior managers as far as what information needed to be included on that new opportunity. And then after that, it took a couple days of building and testing. And then it was within 2 weeks that functionality was enabled. That's just kind of how you would ask for functionality. And then you might need to have a couple follow-up meetings on how to get that functionality going and what exactly that looks like for you. So now if you can figure out how it would help you, how it would help your colleagues, how it would save your time, what functionality pieces you would want to bring over. So in that renewal opportunity, we'd want to bring over the contacts, we'd want to bring over the date. So it would just be the same close date, just a year in the future. It would be the same owner as well. It would map to the same account. So as long as you can figure out the information that you want to be having over, then it should be, you are doing a lot of the admin's job. And so that is very, very helpful to them. But with that being said, that is our user training part 2. I have part 1. Of course, that should be linked down below. If you would like me to do a part 3, I'd love to do a part 3. These are really fun for me to do and fun for me to see so many people learning about Salesforce and making their day-to-day lives a lot easier. We have a course on user training down below or on Salesforce Upskill. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you're feeling generous, connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm Emily Call MBA or just Emily Call on either platform. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.